Loading again. All right. All right, I'm gonna go back so we can discuss this one. All right, so page 155 on Cooper. All right, so he says on figure 6.24, which is the one that I have on this screen, it says graphs A and B show no change in either level or trend between the two conditions. So it doesn't have an explanation. I wish it did.
Nobody makes sense. I mean, it's increasing. If it had started decreasing, then that's a change, you know, and so there's no change whatsoever. For the A, it stayed the same, and for B, it also stayed the same. So I guess that's what it meant by no change.
Mm-hmm. The only thing I'm thinking is that the level starts in the same area that it ends on the baseline. That's the only thing I'm thinking.
Right, so it's continuous of
Right.
whatever, you know, trend or level that it was.
Right.
Right.
All right, so let's talk about C and D. Okay, so that's that. So C and D for level and trend. What do you guys see?
Changing levels
And trend.
the same.
Mm-hmm.
Change in level and trend?
The same. No, the trend stayed the same. Because it's increasing and increasing.
The
Right? Level is different though, right? For C.
There is zero trend.
Zero trend in different levels.
Mm-hmm.
Level is going up, but trend is, I think, same.
Yeah, so there is a change in level and the trend stayed the same in D.
Yeah, I see the same, the different levels.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so, oh my goodness, why did it do this? 1 second. Sorry, guys. You guys see my screen?
No,
No,
not yet.
Yeah. All right, now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, cool. All right, so you said level change and trend didn't, right?
Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
C.
So it says change in level and no change in trend. Good job. That was great. All right, let's look at E and F.
Change all over.
yeah, changing level, changing trend.
Yeah.
All right, so for E and F, it says no change in level and a change in trend. Do you guys see the change in trend?
Change in trend is C.
Because it went from increasing to zero level, so there's a change in trend.
Right.
And also because it was a gradual on F on the baseline, but then it has more of a steep trend. Mm-hmm.
Right.
So that's why what I was talking about yesterday, Daymi, about the deep and the steep.
Right. Yeah, I remember you were mentioning that.
Okay.
The steepness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the change in trend.
One of the things that the BIS people tell you is to kind of do a pencil. Use a pencil to kind of look at this. So if you look at the baseline and you look at the treatment and you see whether you can keep the pencil in the same direction and it lines up, you know, you kind of can use it to give yourself a visual, whether they're, you know, you need extra help to look at that.
So you put the pencil, Nadia, I think you've showed this before, but I forgot. So you put the pencil on the baseline
And then you do it on the treatment. And then you see, is it the same on both? Is it changing? Is the direction of the pencil? And then that can help you a little bit just to get an extra, kind of like you manipulating to compare the pencil with the lines. Yeah.
So that's the trend, right? To find out the trend.
Correct.
Okay, thanks. And for B, I have a question. Does this mean the base, even before the treatment, something was going on that helped to increase the behavior already, right? The B?
For B?
Yeah, baseline was going up and then treatment also going up. So there is something else already there.
Right. There's something going on there that's helping or making it worse. I mean, depending on whatever behavior it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But whatever was happening, it didn't change with the intervention. I mean, it's still
intervention did not change that. Yeah. It was happening.
And actually, that's a good point, because I have had mock questions where they tell you that during baseline, you take, for example, 3-4 data points, and it has, you can say like 3, 6, and 9. And then on intervention, it's 12, 16, and 8, like that. It's multiples, and they're the same multiples, then there's no change. The intervention's not doing anything. So that's a good point that you mentioned there. Those are on many mock questions. So you have to make sure that you remember that and look at the baseline and the intervention and compare the both.
Right.
All right, so now let's look at the last one. G and H.
So G both changed. Both level and trend. H also changed. Both. One is upward.
You say both trend and level, or just one?
Yes, both trend and level changed for G, and for F2.
For H?
G and H. Sorry.
Ascending and descending.
Right, good job. So it's change in both level and trend on here. Wonderful. You guys got this. All right. So interpreting and constructing graphically displayed data. This is on page 148 and 148 to 151 on Cooper. So what color should a graph be printed?
Black.
Black. Do you guys want to know a funny story? When I started working 5 years ago I wasn't an RBT, I was a BA. They used to print them in colors. And that created a lot of issues with insurance companies and all of that. So this is very true. And also another question I have that's not on here. What should you do when you have different behaviors? Should the data points be dots for everything?
No. They have to be different.
So what do you do? If you can't use different colors, what do you do?
Get different shapes and put a label on it.
Data point shapes.
Different shapes. Good job.
Squares, triangles, whatever.
Triangles, circles, squares. Yeah, good job.
Daymi, what was BA? Is that behavior assistant?
Behavior. Yeah.
Okay.
And something my supervisor just told me this week is that you should never put more than 4 behaviors on a graph.
Good job. Those are one of my questions, Jacqueline.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
It's okay, honey.
Got the credit already.
Tonight.
You got the movie tickets for tonight.
He gets that point. Jacqueline, you gotta get that point.
She got an extra point. Bonus for her. All right. True or false? Can different data points, data paths for different behaviors be on the same graph?
True.
True. But the same thing that we were talking about. But it should not have too many because it becomes confusing to visualize.
Right.
Okay, so that's what Jacqueline was saying. So if we have, let's say, 6 different behaviors on one graph, we're going to get very confused. We're not going to know what's going on in there. So we need to split it up. If we have too many behaviors, we need to split that graph up We can do 3 and 2. We can do 4 and 3. Depending on how many we have, we just split it up evenly. All right, next question. True or false? Should the X and Y axis be at the overall same level of the data being displayed?
No, I think.
Same level.
I don't
Not
understand that
necessarily.
question. I don't
Yeah.
understand either.
But I don't think necessarily they have to be at the same level.
I would say
Depends on
yes
what's
if I guessed. True.
I say false.
Okay. So true. This makes it easier to visually analyze the data.
Oh, a trend level thing throughout. You mean the numbering of it, maybe?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
I'm thinking of the actual level.
Yep, exactly what you were saying. All right, so what is sometimes added to a graphic display to represent the overall average? And which of the two is the better of the two choices and why? So I actually learned this from Lara's meeting that she had this week. So if anybody was in Lara's meeting, do not give the answer. What do we use? If we're doing a line graph, okay, and we have different data points.
Is it the legend?
How do we figure out
It's the
the
mean
trend?
and
How do we
median.
figure out a trend?
Oh,
The trend for the path, is that what you mean?
Yeah, how do you figure that out?
The path line?
Mean, median, and range.
There
A
you go.
baseline?
Data path.
Who was it that said mean, median, and range?
Ashley.
Ashley.
Ashley. Good. You're on the right track. So what is that called when you're looking at the, what is it?
Average.
Average.
Average. Okay. And what that has a name.
The median.
Yanni, you were in that meeting.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to give the answer.
Well, I mean, they don't know it, so you can say it.
Also, I'm guessing. I'm thinking that if I'm remembering right, is the medium and the Isn't that what you're referring to? What
The
they
median? Okay, so that yeah, it's there's two different types. One is better than the other.
Line of progress?
Okay, I'm gonna give it to you guys. We're gonna learn this today, and you're not gonna forget it. Okay, it's called a mean level line and a median level line. Okay, of the two, the median level line shows the central tendency. So that one's always going to be the better choice when you're doing that. So in order to find a trend, you're going to use that. This is on page 151 on Cooper. Okay? This is how you figure out a trend. You're going to use either the mean level line or the median level line. But of those two, mean is always the best choice. So let's say you have a mock question that asks you, how do you find a trend line? And you have those two choices on there. You're always going to pick median level line because that's the better choice. Okay? And the reason it's the better choice is because it's going to outweigh the spikes in behavior. So anything that's outlier, that's too low or too high, it's not gonna look at that. It's just gonna look at everything else that's in the middle, where the mean is gonna average everything. So it's gonna throw the trend off. You guys get it?
Yeah, I get it now.
Yeah, the mean is gonna throw everything off because if you have a spike in behavior that was due to grandma coming over, then it's going to throw all your data off and your trend is going to be off. You guys get it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think so.
Sorry, guys, but it's information that I had trouble with, and I want to share it with you guys so you guys can learn it, okay?
Definitely maybe.
Okay. We're working on it. All right. Let's do a Cooper quiz. I think we have time. We can try. Okay, number 1. Visual analysis is considered a blank method for determining the social significance of behavior change. Subjective, conservative, obsolete, or overutilized?
Conservative.
Conservative.
All right. Graphic displays of behavioral data are considered simple formats of visually displaying blank among and between a series of measurements and relevant variables. Time series, arrangements, relationships, or peaks?
Relationship.
Arrange.
Relationships.
Can you bold, zoom in a little more, please? Is it possible?
Is there a way to do that? Yenny?
You hold in Control plus.
Oh, well, there you go.
Look. Oh no, it's not letting me.
Okay, no worries. Thank you.
All right, so you guys said relationship. Sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
I still have to learn this program.
Do you have a Mac?
Yeah.
If you have a Mac, usually I just, with the 2 fingers, I just put on top.
Oh, thank you. That was good.
Thank you. Okay, better.
Awesome. All right, so this type of graph is also known as a histogram and is useful in summarizing behavioral data, allowing for participants and or conditions.
Bar graph.
Bar graph.
Bar graph. This is the most commonly used graph in applied behavior analysis. Line graph, scatter plot, commutative record, or bar graph.
Line graph.
Line graph.
I love how we are all know this so good now that we're like, oh yeah, it's a line graph.
Thank goodness.
You are interested in the total number of sight words accurately read since your data collection began last week. You to most efficiently answer your inquiry. Line graph.
record.
Cum record.
Cumulative. Awesome. All right. You are interested in displaying the mean score for both your baseline experimental condition for this summary presentation and detection of variable trends. Line graph, scatter plot, commutative record, bar graph.
Line graph.
Line graph.
Line graph.
Mm-hmm.
All right. A blank is depicted on the line graph by an open spot in the axis with a squiggly line at each end. Condition line data set, scale break, or horizontal axis.
Scale
break.
I heard 2 different things.
Squiggly line is scale break.
Scale break.
Scale break? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This part of a line graph is printed below the graph and gives a concise but complete description of the figure. Figure caption, data set, scale break, condition label.
Figure caption.
Caption.
Awesome. Logarithmic scales are an appropriate graphing format when blank change is of particular interest. Cumulative, rate, rapid, proportional.
Proportional.
Proportional?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Awesome. A blank chart is a type of semi-logarithmic chart useful for charting accelerating and decelerating performance. Commutative time, standard acceleration, scatter plot, bar graph.
Standard acceleration.
Acceleration.
In order to produce a visual representation of an overall rate on a commutative graph, the first and last data point should be plotted bilaterally, plotted using different symbols, drawn simultaneously, connected with a straight line.
Connected with a straight line.
Connected with a straight line.
Right.
The blank of each data path on a commutative record represents a different rates of acquisition. Position, slope, scatter, slant.
Slope.
Slope.
Mm-hmm.
Slope. A scatter plot shows the blank distribution of individual measures in a data set with respect to the variable axis. Exact, scattered, relative, or standard.
Relative.
Scattered.
What is it?
Relative. Relative.
Oh, relative.
All right. Scatter plots are useful when applied behavior analysts are interested in finding out the blank distribution. Oh, I can't see. Oh. Of the target words. A scatter plot illustrates whether the behavior's occurrence is typically associated with a certain time period, temporal, amount of, standard, or simple.
Temporal.
Temporal. Which part of a line graph is the arrow pointed at? X-axis,
Y.
condition line, y-axis, or data point path?
Y-axis.
Y. The type of graph illustrated in this example has disconnected data points is used primarily to depict temporal district correlations between variables depicted on the y-axis with variable depicted on the x-axis. Commutative record, line graph, bar graph, scatter plot.
Scatter plot.
You are interested in beginning a self-management program to help you save money for a new car. Which type of graph appropriate feedback and displays your progress toward your goal? Commutative record, line graph, bar graph, scatter plot.
Commutative record.
Record.
You are interested in comparing the effects of two different interventions on a single target behavior. You have decided to interventions in an alternating fashion and measure the changes in the value of your dependent variable. You would like interventions in one graph. Which would be the best format to display your results? Commutative record, line graph, bar graph, scatter plot.
Bar graph. Comparing.
Which of the following best describes the direction, degree, and variability of the data path depicted in this graph? Rapidly increasing variable trend, zero trend, gradually decreasing variable trend, rapidly decreasing stable trend.
Rapidly decreasing stable trend.
Stable trend.
All right.
Gee,
Which
there's
of the
more?
following, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, I said there's more.
One more. Which of the following best describes the direction, degree, and variability of the data path depicted in the graph? Rapidly increasing variable trend cannot be determined, gradually decreasing variable trend, rapidly decreasing stable trend.
Cannot be determined.
Which one?
Cannot be
B.
determined.
Awesome. One wrong. And the answer was bar graph. And you guys chose line graph. It says bar graphs are useful when looking to display measures of central tendency, such as the mean or median score for each condition. Although an efficient method for summarizing and presenting these measures, the practitioner sacrifices the ability to detect variability and trends in the behavioral data by using the bar graph format.
Sorry, hold on one
Are
second.
willing to
Look at that
sacrifice.
question again. You are willing to sacrifice presentation of right, because
Bar graph doesn't show
yeah,
variability and trend. I think we just read it too fast.
we missed that.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So we chose line graph. Okay. Yeah. That's good, guys. You guys did awesome.
Wait,
Yes.
there's one more wrong.
There's one more.
One more wrong?
Yes. Just skip it. There you go.
All right. The line graph allows you to plot the values of the same dependent variable on one graph under different intervention conditions without sacrificing the detection of variability, trend, and level. Which question was that?
You are interested in comparing the effects of two different interventions.
It would be an
I thought that
alternating
was line
treatment
bar.
design.
I thought that was bar graph is used to compare.
Two different.
One single target behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Alternating fashion. It would just be an alternating treatment design.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we definitely need to check those because in both that we got wrong.
Yeah, the same kind of question.
Yeah, so we need to compare and contrast bar graph.
Line graph versus bar graph. Yep.
All right. So that's it. That's the end of my meeting. Tomorrow is Yanni's bell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So tomorrow's with Yanni's bell at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. Next week, we're doing section G, identification of the problem. Check out the Facebook page. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to email us, you can do so. You guys have the email here, Daymi@abaexamacademy.com.
Thank you, Daymi.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
guys.
Great job.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bye. Good night.